Hey guys, how's it going? So I thought I'd start this off with a little loop. But today we're going to talk about different looping styles that we can do. So just kind of like starting from scratch, how to build a loop, maybe a country style, a blues style, some funk. It's kind of doing something a little bit funky there. It wasn't super funky. And then just kind of some ideas in that ballpark. And then if you guys have some styles, you can mention them on the side, and I can just tell you how I'm approaching it as I'm building them. So yeah, so we'll get started on that. Hey, Seth. Hey, Jeff. Thanks for joining me. And everybody else, thanks for watching. So first, let's just talk about basic looping. We've got some different parts that we want to loop. We want to loop something that simulates a drum set. And sometimes I do that in 2 different loops instead of just one. And I'll kind of explain what I'm doing with that. And from there, we want to build up with the bass line on top of that. Then I usually do chords and then a melody. Now, sometimes I'll leave out a component just depending on on if a style needs it or if it gets too muddy. So I might not always do the chords, or I might not always do one of the other parts. But usually I will do in that order, and I would recommend starting in that order because you can almost use the rhythm check as a metronome. But basically, we can just kind of like imitate drums. Our slap can be a bass drum. Our pop can be a snare drum. Hey, Betty Lou, how are you doing? So basically, that's how we can imitate our drum set, and then from there we can build a bass line on top of it, like I was saying, and that's just our normal way of playing. And then we can add chords on top of that, and then a melody on top of that. So let's kind of get started on it, and we'll check it out. Oh, and you're right, Daft Punk really does do some awesome looping. So I'm just going to build one up and talk about what I'm doing as I'm going. Let's do a really, really basic drum loop. So what I'm going to do is just slap, pop, and notice I'm muting the strings with my left hand. When I'm muting, I'm not pushing down. I'm just touching the strings as lightly as possible, just so that they sound like that if you were to play them. Okay. So here we go. I'm just going to do quarter notes, slap, pop, pop. So we got that. Kind of exciting. Okay, so sometimes that's not enough. And I like to add a hi-hat kind of sound. So what I usually do for that is I mute higher up on the strings, so I want a higher pitched sound. And then I either go up and down with my finger, or if I feel like that's going to be out of time, I'll just pluck index, middle with a muted G string. So now I've got that looping, and apparently when I'm talking, it's actually looping my talking a little bit. Somehow it's picking it up. So once we got that, it's time to go ahead and move on to either a bass line or chords. Sometimes I do these in different orders, but let's do a bass line right now. So let's just do something really simple. I'm just going to do half notes that line up with that. So we could just do a root note thing. So this is like the easiest thing we could do, right? So now let's add a chord. This is a really, really simple loop, just to give you an idea of the absolute basics. Okay, so we're in A. So now I want to find an A chord up high. So I could either do a 3-note chord by going 12th fret on the A string, 11th fret on the D string, and 9th fret on the G string. Or I could do just part of the chord. Since we have the root already, I could leave out the A, since that low note is the A. But why don't I play it with it real quick, just to get an idea. We can either strum the chord, which I like going down with the hands, with the fingernails, or we can kind of pluck upward if we wanted to, or we can pluck 3 notes at a time. We use our thumb on one string, pointer finger, and middle finger. So I want to give it a little bit more of a rhythmic variation than just slap, pop, slap, pop, and half notes. So I'm gonna go like bump, 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 ba bump. I did it too quietly. There we go, that's a little bit louder. So now we've got the simplest of bass lines, a root note bass line with that going on. So at that point, I click the looper off so that now it's just playing back the loop rather than recording. So at that point, I can just solo. So I want to talk about a couple things about looping that I didn't mention just then. I'm going to go ahead and delete that loop, but you get the idea. It's a very, very simple process. If you do that, you want to click the looper to start right when you slap the first note. So on the downbeat, so beat 1. So let me do that again. I'll count this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And then you stop it on beat 1, 2. And then on my loop pedal, it automatically records when you hit it that second time. For some other loops, you may have to hit it an additional time to get it to record again. Okay, so there's a little more out of time, but you get the idea. We could add that in almost like a hi-hat kind of a thing. I almost have another one bites the dust. Yeah, you could play it over this. It's a little slow, but you get the idea. So I'm going to play something with a little bit more to it for the bass line. And I know that one of those slaps is a little bit out of time. I think it's this one, but it's okay. So once we have that loop going, just our simple 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. We could add chords first and then a bass line. With a simple thing like this, really you can get away with a little bit more on the bass line. What if we just tried doing something more like pop rock and did like 8th notes? And we can do like a C, an E, an F, and a G, and just do 2 of each. So like something like that. So I'm going to loop it. I turned the loop off just to talk to you guys, but here we go, recording loop again. I don't know why I did the last one as a quarter note, but you get the idea. So we can do straight 8th notes over that beat too, even though it's not just locking in with the with our bass drum, which is our thumb slap. So now I'm in C. So now I need a C chord somewhere. So I'm just going to play a C and an E. I could also play an E and a G if I wanted to. So there's another rhythmic pattern that you can use. And that's just doing upbeats. So all I was doing there was plucking those 2 strings at the same time. Like that, just with these 2 fingers. Okay. So it's not quite reggae because we just got like a straight beat, but the idea of doing the chord on upbeats, I kind of borrowed that from reggae. So it's a very happy sounding song. So since I know I'm playing in C major, I'm just using the C major scale on 1 string to play over the top of that. It almost sounds like a John Mayer song, really. But you kind of get the idea on that. It's the same thing there, but that's a really simple pattern. Slap, pop, slap, pop. So now we're going to do something that's just a little more varied. It's still in the pop or rock kind of genre, so that style. So I'm going to do slap, pop, slap, slap, pop. Oh, I don't like that second loop. I got it a little bit out of time. So that's the other thing. You can delete the loop that you put on top of another one by holding the main pedal down on this one. And this is the, what is it called? RC1 loop station. So I'm trying to get the groove before I click record. Good, so I got a good one there. And let's do like a 2-chord thing. So I'm gonna go A, G, G, and I might add a couple of extra notes here, but the main thing to note is that I'm locking in with my bass drum and just adding notes around it. So what I did there would really outline an A and a real quick G chord in there. So I'm going 1, 2, 3, and 4, and so the A is a half note, and then I'm doing eighth notes on the G. I'm going 3rd fret on the E string 2 times. Sorry, let me go from the beginning of that. The A is 5th fret on the E string for half note, and then 2 3rd frets on the E string, a 5th fret on the A string, and then back to the 3rd fret on the E string. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and so that's the bass line. So now I turn the loop off because I want to be able to experiment a little bit with the chords without having to lock in on a rhythm. So let's see, we're in the key of probably A minor because we have an A and a G, unless I decide to make the first chord major. What should I do, guys? Major or minor? If I do major, it's going to sound kind of like, if both of them are major, it's going to sound kind of like Fire on the Mountain. And if I do minor, it might sound more like, oh, I don't know. Let me think for a second. So here's what major would sound like. So I'm doing the same thing with the upbeats kind of there. But let's strum on this one because we haven't strummed before. So if you guys are familiar with playing ukulele, you could probably do something like down, down, up, down, up, which I call it island strum. I've heard it called island strum by a few people. It's not really the official name, but it's kind of called that a lot in the ukulele world. So we got it's like down, down, up, this, up, down, up, and so that last up, down, up is going to be the G chord. So if you've never strummed before, you kind of go down with your fingernail. For me, I just come up with just the pointer finger. I think I'm really just strumming with the pointer finger more than anything. So I think I'm going to go with major. Minor would sound kind of like this, though. I just changed the one note in the chord, lowering the middle note 1 fret. Sounds kind of sadder. I like the major sounding one, so we'll go with that one. And this might sound kind of like A mixolydian is the mode that would go with it for those of you guys that know modes. And so one of the reasons that you can strum is it cuts through the mix more. I'm going to turn it down a little bit though, it's a little bit loud. So strumming cuts through the mix more and it separates the sound of the chords from the bass notes, but it can be louder, so sometimes it can be overpowering. Like in this case, I may have strummed too hard. So if I wanted to, I could delete that loop just by, at this point, holding the pedal down. Let's see. There it goes. So it just deleted the last loop. So I'm going to strum it again. I'm going to do it a little bit lighter this time. Much better. A little more balanced. Can you guys hear it okay? So So then at this point, I can just come up with a melody over the top of it. This is still kind of a pop music kind of thing, light rock or pop. So then I'm just playing either the first like 5 or 6 notes of A major. You can come up with a melody like that. But really, we could throw in that G again. So instead of doing A major completely, I'm doing A mixolydian, which is an A major scale with a lowered 7th. So I'm gonna play the scale on here, just so you get the idea. So it's kind of fun, just mess around with that. But that's using a very simple pop beat, and then a bass line that kind of works over it. It's kind of nice. It uses a little bit of eighth notes, but the main thing is it represents every note that was slapped with the thumb is matched with the bass note in these, and that makes it groove. It's like locking in with the bass drum when you're playing with the drummer. So whatever, when you were slapping, whatever your thumb's doing needs to be included in that line. So that's kind of what I'm doing there. And that's the basic idea for success. Sometimes I will EQ the loops as I'm going, or like EQ the bass to have different sounds, different tones, for each simulated instrument. So just for the record, I don't have the ability to do this on this one, but if you have one more like the Journeyman or the Wanderer or some of the Hadean stuff, or maybe even Donner, they have high, mid, and low as separate knobs, whereas this one has the tone knob just all in one. So with those other models, if you're doing the drums, I would kind of slightly boost the high and the low and cut the mids out. So just slightly turn the high and the bass, or so I guess it may not be high and low. It may be the treble and the bass, and then turn the mids down a little bit because we don't really want them too represented while you're doing that. And I don't have the ability on here, so it's fine if you have everything set flat for all these things, but playing in different places can also change the tone. And playing in different ways, like strumming versus plucking, can separate the voices out by different tones. Since we're playing on a bass, we have to do this a lot so that the voices don't end up being swallowed up by the other ones, if that makes sense. So that's why I like throwing strumming in on the chords, and sometimes just plucking back here instead of over the sound hole. You'll get a thinner sound that'll cut more rather than here, where it's a very smooth sound that might be covered over by a bass line. So so just some ideas there. If you play back here versus here, you can kind of hear it's a little bit different. It has a little more high end and a little less fullness to it. So that's kind of another way to just keep the voices separated out. So that's good for pop. It's good for rock. I'm going to throw in like punk rock, basically the same beat, the boom ka, just do it faster. Okay. And then we can add eighth notes over it. I'm going to do 2 measures of it instead of 1 measure of it. Or maybe I'll do 4 measures of it. Yeah, I'll do 4 measures of it so we can add a chord progression to it, because right now we've only done a 1 chord and a 2 chord progression. I think this time we want to do a 4 chord progression, and it's going to be the most common 4 chord progression that I can think of. It's called a 1-5-6-4 progression. If you saw those in Roman numerals, that's the way people usually talk about chord progressions. A lot of songs use it. Blink-182's used it a lot. Green Day's used it a lot. It's used in a lot of pop music that's not punk rock either, but just for the idea, we'll go with that. And I actually have a pick with me, so I might actually play something with the pick. I think this was going to be more pop punk, but we could do the Ramones, but that would just be more like a 1-4-5. That would be a three note one. So I'm just going to give you an idea with a 1-5-6-4 in the key of C, just for the record. Just going to do C for fun. So that's going to be our drum beat, is slap, pop, slap, slap, pop, 4 times in a row. It's the same idea. I stomped right on beat 1, stomped right on the last beat 1 when I started over. I'm not going to worry about the hi-hat on this. So because I think that's pretty good. Okay, so we've got that. I'm going to use a pick. So I've got a pick here. Well, that didn't work out so well. Luckily, I can delete that loop and start over. Hopefully that overlapping will sound okay. Yeah, just trying to fix the mistake I made. Okay, so then in punk rock, the guitar follows that same thing. So we got to figure out a way to play these power chords. I'm going to turn it off because I think I'm going to be a little bit loose on it first. Okay, I'm going to do them all on the G string, so this is going to be a lot of sliding. So I'm going to turn it down a little bit. But basically, to do power chords, we're just playing a root and a fifth at the same time. So like the 10th fret on the D string with the 12th fret on the G string. And this is something to do with a pick. I think it'd be really annoying to do with like a finger trying to get that right. And I'm just gonna go down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. So really fast eighth notes. It's gonna sound like this. So I'm going from where my pointer finger's on the 10th fret, and then the other finger is 2 frets up from there and 1 string thinner. So I'm just gonna tell you what the pointer finger does for these chords. For the C chord, we're going to be doing 10th fret. For the G chord, we're going to go down to the 5th fret. For the A chord, A minor chord really, but we're not playing the 3rd, so I can just say an A power chord. You're going to go to the 7th fret, and then for the F, you're going to go to the 3rd fret. So all right, it's going to be hard to get it consistent, so getting all the way through the strings is a little harder here than on guitar. We'll try it. All right. And now we just got to imitate kind of a simple melody. We might just use 3 notes of the C major scale. Maybe 5 notes, first 5 notes of it. Yeah, so we can kind of do that. So it's pretty easy to write a melody like that. You could go higher. We could keep going up the scale. But all I'm doing there is playing a C on the 10th fret of the D string, a D on the 12th fret of the same string. Then on the G string, we'll do 9th fret, 10th fret, and 12th fret. And just mix them around, kind of go in order. Just add rhythmic variation. You could start a lot simpler than that. Like you start with just half notes. And then quarter notes. I guess those are really half notes at this tempo. Because it's pretty fast tempo. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then quarter notes. And then after that, you can add eighth notes in there. So it kind of reminds me of Blink-182. So that gives you an idea of kind of like a punk rock kind of thing you could do. If you want to sound more like Green Day, you might want to do a little bit slower maybe on that part, or change the progression. They have a song that does the same progression as Canon. So they do it in E or something instead of D, but it's the same progression: 1, 5, 6, 3, 4, 1, 4, 5. Or if we were in the key of D, that would be D, A. I have to think about it. B minor. Then the 3 would be The 3 would be F sharp minor. Sorry, I can't clear my throat for whatever reason. G, D, G, and A. Cool. So now that we've got kind of like some rock and pop and punk stuff out of the way, I may have lost a couple of you by doing punk before doing things like country and jazz and blues, but oh well, it was kind of fun anyway. So let's talk about which one do you want to hear next? Let me know in the comments. We could do jazz or blues, something of that nature. But I think with all these, it's almost like I'm going in length of the progression right now. Cool. Well, thanks for sticking it out, Betty Lou. I'm glad you're still here. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on here. So we could do blues next. We could do jazz. I might do jazz because we could do a shorter loop with it. There's a 2-5-1 chord progression, and so I want to kind of base everything around there. On this one, I might actually start with like the chords instead of starting with the drum loop. So most of the time I like starting with the drum part, but here I could do something like, whoops. If I figure out why it's rattling. So this is called a 2-5-1 progression, and I'm doing it in the key of G up here. So I'm going to tell you what I'm doing to play these chords. It's 3 notes at the same time. And the first chord is an A minor 7 chord, which is the 2 chord of G, and with adding the 7th that goes with that chord on top of it. Yeah, I'm not sure what's rattling. Something in here. I have the back plate off of here because it used to be the thing that was rattling. It might be no, it's not the batteries. It might be this little tuner button. Sometimes it's that. Okay, if I push down hard, it doesn't seem to happen. So I'll just try to loop it very carefully. But I'm playing a 12th fret on the A string, 10th fret on the D string, and 12th fret on the G string. Yeah, if I push down really hard, it doesn't rattle. So maybe I just wasn't pushing down hard enough for these strings. So then we have a G7 chord. What I'm doing for this one, this is our 5 chord of the progression. So we have a 2 chord, a 5 chord. It's going to be the 10th fret on the E string, 10th fret on the D string, and 11th fret on the G string. And what did I just say that was? I may have just told you the wrong thing. That's a D7 chord, not an A. I don't know what I said a minute ago, but it's a D7 chord. D as in dog. So you got A minor 7, D7, and then we're going to do a C major 7 chord, and that's going to be the 10th fret on the A string, 9th fret on the D string, and 11th fret on the G string. Cool. So I'm going to try to loop that and hopefully not get that rattle. I'm just going to go like, just since we're looping it first, I want to keep it very solid timing just to make sure that it's really straightforward. If I did a kind of a backing beat to it first, if I did like I might just do that actually. And then that way I can vary up the rhythm with the chords rather than just going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I want to do the last chord twice so that we have 4 measures total. So it's the 2 chord, the 5 chord, the 1 chord, and then the 1 chord again. Okay. So I'm going to give it a rhythm track first. Even though I said I was going to go with the chords, I'm just going to start with the like that kind of thing. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That last part was probably a little out of time. We'll let you see. So I accidentally played a C major here instead of C major 7. So now that I've got that, I'm going to leave it open-ended and not record the bass line, but just play one for you because we can practice our walking lines over this progression. And some of these chords in this order, maybe in a different key, might end up in Girl from Ipanema a little bit. Really, most jazz standards have this like somewhere in them. It's a 2-5-1 progression, and a lot of jazz standards are just kind of made from doing this progression and then doing it into a different key and kind of changing it around and moving it around, which is something we could get into later. But I think just for loop's sake, we'll just do these 3 chords just kind of looped over. So we got that loop where we've got that dun 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 dun, dun rhythm, and then the chords over it. I just left them very straightforward. We could have like varied the rhythm. I forgot to, honestly, because it could be like, right? It could have been something like that instead, but we have this looped right now, so I'm just gonna go with it. So now we have to come up with a walking line. I'm just gonna play one for a second. It's really a great way to practice walking lines. It's just looping a 2-5-1 and then trying different things over it. So I'm probably going to loop something a little simpler than that. What I like doing is first, I'm really walking up the Dorian mode for those that know the modes, but it's also the same set of notes as the minor scale because we're not going far up enough to scale for it to be to have the different notes. So I'm just going to play the first 3 notes of A minor. Then I'm going to skip over the 4th note and go to the 5th note. So if you know your minor scale, I'm just going to go. So I'm going to wait for it to get back around to the chord. So that's going to be 5th fret on the E string, 7th fret, 8th fret, and then I'm jumping over to the 7th fret on the A string. So that's the first part. So then from there I'm going to the 5th fret on the D string, and I'm going to do the same kind of line on this next one, and it's going to be just outlining the notes of a D Mixolydian mode, just the first few notes. So that's going to be the 5th fret on the A string, the 7th fret on the A string, the 4th fret on the D string, and then skipping over to the 7th fret of the D string. We're kind of surrounding the notes as we're going. So far we've got this. Here we go. And then now we're on to our 1 chord. So that's what we did for the 2-5. For the 1 chord, I'm just going to go down the G major scale, starting on the last note of it. Like, well, I should wait for it to get there, like right here. So that's one thing you can do is just go directly down the scale. There's one note in there I didn't like too much, so I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to do this. Yeah, so that kind of thing. I did over the wrong chord, but you get the idea. So here's our whole pattern. And then I'm adding a chromatic note after that back into the A. Let me go over what I was doing over the G though real quick. So that's the 5th fret, 4th fret, 2nd fret on the D string. Then the 5th fret on the A string. Then the 2nd fret on the A string. I'm skipping over a note in the scale. Skipping over the 4th note of the scale and just going to the 3rd note, which is the 2nd fret on the A string. And then I'm going to go to the 5th fret on the E string and the 3rd fret. So let me say that one more time. On the D string, 5, 4, 2. On the A string, 5, 2. And on the E string, 5, 3. And then after that, I'm going to do a leading tone to lead back into the start of the pattern again. And that's just going to be adding the 4th fret on the E string after that. So that last part, when I get there, I'll just play it. It's going to sound like this. And back to the beginning. And the top. So that's a really strong line. So I kind of like that one. So I'm gonna loop that real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4. See, it leads back into itself nicely. So now I'm going to turn the loop off. We've got all our loops that we need for this jazzy part. Now we can just solo over the top of it. And you can really just use the notes of G major, or you could think of it as A Dorian going to D Mixolydian going into G major or G Ionian. So if you want to, you can think about it like that. And for me, that helps me come up with some patterns. But if that's too much thinking for you, you could literally just play the notes of G major and just use your intuition about which ones sound the best over which chords. But you get the idea on how to do that. Okay, so I made the bass line way too loud, so I'm actually going to try to take that away and do it again muted. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to put the back of my hand where it's lightly touching the E string and the A string right at the bridge, just right inside of the bridge. So like inside meaning this way, just barely. And we get that muted sound, so it sounds more like an upright bass. And do this all again. That's nicer. It's just kind of in the background a little bit better. So that way when I play over it, I can actually hear what I'm So you can kind of just do that. So that's good for jazz. So I'll go ahead and stop that one. Blues is just a much longer thing. So I kind of feel like because it's so long of a loop, sometimes it's better to just loop one thing for 12 measures. So you could just loop the bass line first, I think would be a nice thing to do. Since you're probably just going to play quarter notes on the line that we're going to do. I'm going to pick that stock kind of blues quarter note line that you hear a lot of times, where it does root, third, fifth, sixth, seventh, sixth, fifth, third. So it's kind of like this. And we'll just do this in the key of G. And I'm using the round wound strings, so they are a little bit buzzier than they are on the flat wound strings. But I just haven't played this one in a while. So if it's too buzzy for you, just know it wouldn't be quite as much if you were using either the rubber strings, polyurethane rather, and the flat wound strings. So I could pick that bass up if it bugs you guys too much. But I just wanted to give you an idea on this one. And then I've got the Wanderer on this side next to the keyboard. Okay. So let's see, the blues. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to start with the bass line since it's quarter notes because that's the most like a metronome, right? It's going to be 12 bars. It's going to be a long loop. 1, 2, 3, 4. Worst rhythm track I could choose. Hey, Amy. How's Nashville treating you? I highly don't recommend doing that weird little rhythmic thing that I did just then. It's kind of annoying. Yeah, but basically what I was doing there was I'm muting up here and using my fingernails to get that sound. So I'm not a big fan of that. I think I should have plucked instead, or just not done a rhythm track on this one. Or you could do a slap pop kind of thing. Such a long loop. I'm not sure when I started it. There we go. So sometimes what I do is when I can't remember if I started it halfway through the pattern, is I just kind of go through and wait until I hear it playing back. Because usually I'm not so perfect in time that that I can't hear it as well. Well, Amy, I'm glad that Nashville's going well. So let me just explain what I was doing there. I'm gonna press the loop so I'm not recording now. After recording the chord note bass line, which hopefully you guys know that one. I've done a couple videos that have kind of like done that bass line before. Let's just pretend that's not even in there. You just go like slap, pop, but occasionally I was adding an extra slap in there. Slap, slap, pop. Slap, pop, slap, slap, pop, right? And so it's a swung eighth note when I hit 2 slaps in a row. So you got to think about them being like long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short. Long, short, long, short, long. But you get the idea. And that'll make it kind of have that swing to it. And if we really wanted to, which we probably do for now, but you may not want to spend this much time building a loop if you're playing a show. Now we're going to add some chords with some annoyingly cliche rhythms. And I'm going to be doing some 7th chords. So over the G chord, I'm going to be doing 10th fret. It's a G7 chord. 10th fret on the A string, 9th fret on the D string, 10th fret on the G string. And then we get to the C chord, which will happen pretty soon. I'm going to be doing the 8th fret on the E string, right here, 8th fret on the D string, and 9th fret on the G string. So 8, 8, 9. And then we just have this chord that just happened. And that's the D7 chord. And the way I'm going to play it is 10th fret on the E string, 10th fret on the D string, and 11th fret on the G string. And so you got to know where they happen within the 12-bar blues. And then you just play like a kind of annoying rhythm with it. So I'm going to let it get back around, and then I'll start. And I'll tell you what chords I'm playing as I'm going. Here we go. G, 2, 3, 4. Now we go to C. Back to G, sorry. To D. To, what's that one? Okay, so at the end, I kind of forgot what I was saying. Apologize. It went to a D chord, back to a C chord, and then back to a G chord, and then it ends with a D chord right at the end. So hopefully that helps a little bit. C, and G, and then a D chord. And then we use the blues scale to solo over this, if you wanted to make a solo up. So it's the G blues scale, so I'd play it really high up on the neck to keep the notes kind of out of the range of the bass part. And that'd be the 10th fret on the A string, the 13th fret, then the 10th fret on the D string, the 12th fret. Sorry, I left out one. 10th, 11th, and 12th fret on the D string. And then 10th and 12th on the G string. So if I played the scale, you play backwards. Not all the notes sound good over all the chords, but if you kind of give it a cool rhythm, it can work. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll turn down the loop if it's too loud. Like this is too loud to talk over. It's probably too loud to play over. All right. And then I'll just solo over it. Whoops. I gotta teach you out of the patterns I'm using. changing the rhythm around a lot and varying it up. At first, you may want to start with just doing quarter notes and then adding some eighth notes in there. And one thing that kind of helps if you can do it is kind of sing along, because when you kind of sing along, you have to take breaths. And so it gives a more natural kind of flow to what you're playing, because you'll breathe at a certain point, put some interesting pauses in the bass part, or sorry, in the solo. And so you might hear that there's certain notes that don't sound good over certain chords. And I think it's best to just play through it until you get the intuition of which notes don't really work. But one thing that I'm kind of doing is I know where a G, a C, and a D are within this pattern. So when I'm over the G chord, I'm kind of centering it around that note. And when I get to the C chord, I try to make things kind of center around that. Like, check this out. So we're over the G, so I'm hitting a lot of Gs. Now I'm on the C chord. And then going back to G when it's centered around the G. And then a D chord here. So I'm kind of centering my phrases around what chord I'm on. So hopefully that gives you a good idea on the blues. That's kind of just a, some people call it like you could call it kind of like a swing feel. It's a swung blues feel. So it's not really like a shuffle would have like doubled notes instead of quarter notes. It would have like swung eighth notes going like. But the idea is kind of the same. So you could just kind of use those bass parts interchangeably. But that's how I would solo over the blues. If you have any questions about any of these styles and it's just like confusing, like what did I do for the individual loops, or if I'm moving too fast, just let me know. But the main idea is to kind of like get from all this is probably starting with a rhythm track, or if the bass line is quarter notes, start with the bass track. And instead of like the drums, so you have like bass, you're emulating the drums for another one, and you're emulating like a guitar for another one, or a piano, depending. So you can kind of go back and forth with that. So that gives you an idea. It also gives you like what scale to use when you're soloing over it or making a melody over it. There, I would do the blues scale. You could also use the G Mixolydian mode to kind of make up a line over it. It's just kind of, it'll sound less bluesy and more kind of, I don't want to say cheesy, but the blues scale being the thing you're soloing over everything with just gives it that real edge that's kind of nice and kind of a cool, sense of emotion sort of in there. But that's what I do for the blues. So far we've covered kind of a basic pop sort of thing, another basic rock or pop sort of a thing. Then we did punk rock, just because it's kind of similar, just faster. And then we did jazz and we did blues. So that's what we've done so far. I'm going to do like funk. And with funk, I think there are a couple ways to do it. I'm going to kind of make the drum beat a little bit more interesting. So there's going to be a little bit more slapping and popping. So let's see. That doesn't really sound funky. So that's not really a great funk drum beat. And I think any drummers, if you're paying attention, it's just kind of limiting. So I'm just gonna give it some sort of kind of feel that's a little bit different. So I'm going to do something like that, although that could be a rock groove too. Let's see. Could do something like that for for hip hop or something. So yeah, so I'm gonna do something that's kind of funky. So it'll either be, I'm thinking like maybe a James Brown thing, but it's kind of similar to kind of a James Jamerson kind of thing, but just if everything stayed on one chord. So so James Brown lines would have like bass lines would have a lot of syncopation and a lot of 16th notes, and really not a super amount of syncopation, but an interesting rhythm at the very least. Although beat one would pretty much always be there, not always, but pretty much always. So the drum beat's not really going to be super funky, but you know. I'm just going to do something like that. So I'm going slap, slap, pop, slap, 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 pop, slap. So 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a... So it's kind of a tricky rhythm. So what I would do is probably just listen to it until you get it down rather than worrying about the counting. But that's there for you if you're the type that likes having that there, how it lines up. Okay. Ooh, it sounds like I was a little late on that. So sometimes if I do that, I'll just start the loop over. There, that's better. So one secret is if you don't hit the downbeat of the new loop, you don't get that weird overlap if you're slightly off. So I haven't been doing that tonight, but that is a good kind of thing to do. So I'm going to turn it off for a second, just experiment, like what kind of line do I want? I think I want to play in D minor. I'll do the blues scale kind of thing, like that. Ooh, I kind of like that. I only made it half that long, so I can't do both of those. So which do you like better, the first or the second one? Here's the first. And then the second one just doesn't have that extra note. So which one do you guys want, the first one or the second one? Busier or simpler? The busier one has an extra passing tone in there. The first one. That was the busier one, right? Oh, now I'm changing the rhythm on you. So that's kind of a cool thing. So what I'm doing there is I'm using that box shape where I'm using like 5th frets and 7th frets. It's based around the minor pentatonic scale. So this is D minor pentatonic, which is like the 5th fret and then the 8th fret on the A string, the 5th fret and the 7th fret on the D string, the 5th fret and the 7th fret on the G string. But then I'm adding this little chromatic passing tone. Let's see if I remember the groove I came with. Yeah, so that's what I'll loop. So now we got to figure out something kind of funky as a guitar part. So I'm using D minor. And I'm thinking something with that rhythm so that I don't actually have to do a separate hi-hat thing. It's just kind of like borrowing for both of those. Okay, that's too much. So let's see. This is our 3rd, and then we just need our 5th. Let's see. So our 5th is an A. It's too low, so I'm going to try something a little bit higher. Or I could do this. I think this one sounds a little bit more funky. I'm kind of matching the rhythm of the drum track. Normally they wouldn't all line up like that. They might have like different rhythms that they're doing. But I kind of like it for this one. So I'm doing down up, just kind of down up, 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 down up. What you could do is a separate track. I'm kind of thinking a guitar player would kind of be strumming like that while they're playing. And then what I'm doing for the chord is 12th fret on the A string, just if I happen to hit it. I'm not really trying to, but if I do, then that'll be good. 12th fret on the D string and 10th fret on the G string. So the most important ones are 12th fret on the D string and 10th fret on the G string. And I'm leaving my thumb actually on the A string, so I don't really need to worry about that note at all. I'm just going down and up with the fingers. Fingernails going down, plucking coming up. I played it like twice pretty well, so it overlaps nicely. And now we just kind of solo over it using probably the D blues scale again. So. I like extending out up a little higher. I might do that. So I'm going into different octaves, but it's still mostly the D blues scale. So things that you can hear within these grooves that I did, I kind of want to mention what I'm doing. I might have to stop it in order to do that. So basically, not only am I just playing those notes for the bass line, but I'm kind of doing something rhythmic there, right? Or I think I did. No? What did I do? Here, let me hear it. Okay, that's a little different than what I did the first time. This is 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and. So it's kind of like I'm on the E's and the U's of the 16th notes. So I'm skipping some of the downbeats. So if I'm counting 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a, at first I'm hitting beat 1. So, and then I'm hitting the after beat 1. So that's like 1E and a 2E and so 1E and what was it? Let me hear it again. So 1E and a 2, 1E and a 2E and a 3E. So after beat 2, I'm hitting the after beat 2, skipping over beat 3, and then hitting the E, the next 16th note after that. So this is counting 1E and a 2E and a. So when I say E, it's a rhythmic figure, not the note name. So 1E and a 2. So 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. Okay, so that's kind of syncopated already. Just on the last half. The first half's pretty downbeat oriented or pretty it hits beat 1 and beat 2, and then we skip over beat 3. So it's just kind of syncopated in that sense that we're skipping a strong beat like beat 3. Okay, so yet again, kind of 16th note groove going on there. Still important to lock in with the drums. You don't have to lock in with it 100%, but you do want to hit the downbeat if it's hitting the downbeat. If it's a crazier drum pattern or something, if you're actually playing with the drummer instead of just looping your own, you may just want to lock in with part of it instead of the whole thing, just to keep that in mind. It doesn't have to lock in with every single hit, but it grooves hard if you do. Okay, so it's a good solid groove if you do. So that's kind of a funky sort of thing. I guess we haven't done country yet. Country, you could start with a drum thing. It would be the same drum beat we started at the beginning, which is slap, pop, slap, pop. So I would just do that. I'm going to pick a progression so that we have a longer thing. I got to figure out how many measures we actually want to do. So what if we did like, let's see. Okay, we'll do 2 measures of each, and we'll do a 1-4-5-1. So boom, 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 dun, 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 dun. So I'm going to use the walk-ins and the walk-downs. It might be a little annoying, and you probably don't want to do this many walk-ins and walk-downs. If you're doing this, you might just want to do a couple here and there, but I'll just throw them all in like I did on, I think I had one called Country Walk-ins, a video just on that stuff that I'm about to do. But first, I'm just going to lay down the groove for as long as I want to solo over, or not solo over, as long as I want the progression to be. So in this case, I think it's boom. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom, dun, 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 dun. Let's see, dun, 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 dun. It says 8 measures, so I'm gonna do that. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, so now I'm just gonna lay down the bass part. I'm not really too concerned since this is just a loop of where I start, as long as it's on a slap note. Kind of weird that I didn't do a walk-in at the end. So now I add some chords. So we were on a C chord, we went to an F chord, and then we went to a G chord. I think I'm gonna add them here. I'm gonna just dun da da dun down down up down down up down down up down down up, that kind of thing. And I'll tell you what the chords are after I play through it. I think I'm gonna do it here, here, and here. Okay, so what I was doing here was 10th fret on the D string and 9th fret on the G string. So that's a C chord, a 2-note version of a C chord, just a C and an E note. And then I went to an inversion of a chord. So I did 10th fret on the G string, that's an F, and the 7th fret on the D string, and that's an A. And then I slid that pattern up 2 frets, so it ended me up with the 12th fret on the G string with the 9th fret on the D string for a G chord. So then once I have that there, I can kind of use C pentatonic to solo over that. So that's C pentatonic, but I want to do it up higher. And we may not have all the notes because we don't have that C up there, but it would be a C, D, E, G, and A. C, D, E, G, A. And then if you had a higher C, you could add a C on the end. I'm just going to make a melody out of those notes. Sometimes I'm going down to lower versions of those notes, but that's still a G, that's still an A. Those are still in this scale. You can use a couple other notes from C major as well. Like if you're over an F chord, you can totally hit an F over it. So you could also use the full C major scale if you wanted to. So once again, when I'm on certain chords, I try to outline the notes that are within that chord. So that's kind of the idea there. And then you can stop the loop and add an ending at the very end. I would have normally waited a little bit longer and just done the boom, boom, boom. at the end. Which all I'm doing for that, if you're curious about it, that was 5th fret on the G string, 5th fret on the D string, and 3rd fret on the A string. It's a good little country ending. Cool. So so now we've covered, I want to say 6 styles. Let me see if that's right. We did like our basic pop or rock kind of groove. We did another variation of it with an extra bass drum on the and after 3. Then we did a punk rock thing just for fun. So that's 3. Then we did jazz, blues, funk, and I guess country. So we've done 7 styles. So I have other style videos, and you can kind of take these ideas from those and just apply them to the loop pedal instead of just doing things separately. So like you could make a disco groove. I would probably just do the same thing where I'm going slap pop, you know. Actually, I might go slap pop strum pop. If you want to do disco, and then do some octave. You know, do an octave bass line, you know, kind of thing underneath that if you want to. And then I mean, there was a whole bunch of different styles we could do, and we could probably break it down by artist. I know Seth was wanting something in the style of like James Jamerson. We'd have more of that like pentatonic style bass line. You know, that kind of and then more 16th notes and more syncopation. You know, so there'd be some chromatic notes here and there. There'd be a couple ghost notes probably, and a little bit of syncopation. So not always playing on the downbeats, playing on the E's and U's 16th note wise. And then you can try looping actual songs. So sometimes I used to do some solo bass shows, and I'd do some actual songs that way. And ones that were kind of easy to loop were like 2-chord songs, or ones where they do the same 4 chords all the way throughout. So you could do Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I mean, the Jason Mraz, I'm Yours would be a pretty easy one to do. Pumped Up Kicks, I have a loop pedal version that I did, I want to say last year on that, at the beginning of last year. And just things that use the same couple of chords in the same order all the way through the song. You can kind of loop that, or you can just loop part of the song and leave the parts out that don't do that. So things that might work good for that. What else have I done loop pedal song versions of? I'm trying to think for a second. What I Got by Sublime is just a D chord and a G chord. So I like kind of looping the guitar part for that and just doing like, I'm not sure if I can reach it on here. Oh, and you can also use things like harmonics to separate the chords from like the bass line and things of that nature. But just basically anything that repeats a whole bunch, and then you might have to delete part of it to do certain sections of the song. Trying to think of other songs that really don't change at all, rather than doing ones where we have to like get rid of the bridge or get rid of part of the chorus. Do you guys have any suggestions on there? Songs that just kind of stay in one spot the entire song, and you know, like things might drop out or then go back. But I think you're talking about Daft Punk earlier. Around the World has multiple sections, but what you could do is just loop one thing over the drums and delete the bass track that you do, and then add a new one and build it up. So like was it Around the World? I'm trying to remember how that goes. Okay, so there's like, and sometimes I like doing that for the snare drum rather than popping. Yeah, Get Lucky is another one that's very, very repetitive. We could do that one too. That's a good example. But Around the World has a lot of cool grooves in it, and you might be able to like loop a drum part and then just play those over it as one option. So you could just do a single loop. So you could do that as a loop. But there's like, what's it? I can't remember the bass line. It's been so long since I played it. There's a really cool line there. Something like that. Let's see if I can get it right. 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there it is. That's that note. But let's just start with the first groove. Oh, I didn't make the loop long enough. Okay, so you got to make sure you make the loop or groove long enough in the first place. So I'm going to hum the bass line. That's one secret to kind of helping you get the groove long enough. Get that on autopilot, and then hum the groove when you loop it. Bum, 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 ba, bum, 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 ba, dum, dun, 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 da, da, dun, 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 da, dun, 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 da, dun, 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 dun. All right, we got a car alarm in here. Forgot looping that one. It's going to have 2 notes at the end instead of 1. It's okay. It's all good though. So then you can try looping the other parts over that. I'm trying to remember how it goes though. Can't remember where the melody starts. Can't remember what the melody's like. Around the world, around. Okay. You know, you could loop that if you wanted to, because like you said, they have a lot of loops like that. Sorry, I thought I had more knowledge of the other parts than I did. I just know the bass line a little bit, apparently. But then you could delete that loop and put the yeah, something of that nature. I'm kind of simplifying it a little bit. With Get Lucky, you could do that. Let's see. I don't know. Sometimes I like doing all of this. Like you could loop these things individually and go slap, strum, and then go back and add all this stuff in between. Sometimes I like doing it all at the same time. Slap, strum, harder strum. So that's kind of a cool thing to do so that you don't have to loop quite as many parts at the beginning. Let me think. And so I'm just kind of making up the bass line a little bit. It's not exactly Nathan East's line. He has a lower bass that goes kind of 5-string. So then I got to think about what does the drum beat even do? If I don't know, I just imitate something that would fit with the bass line. So you don't always have to know what the drum groove really is, although it's better if you do. But if you're in a situation like this where you don't really have time to consult it, you know, you can kind of just think of what goes with that. to. That might work. 2, 3, 4. Boom. No, can't hum it at the same time. Dun, 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 dun. So I'm just gonna do slap pop like I normally do. Dun, 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 dun. And then I'll add some strums in the middle to fill it out. Dun, 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 dun. That's what I should do though. I should add the boom, 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 boom. 1, 2, 3, 4. Dun, 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 dun. So I might do it like that and then add the bass line. I'm going to try to keep the bass line low. So I've got that. Then I'm just got to figure out what I want to do for the chords. I got to figure out what I want to do there. So it's a F sharp. So I figure out what I want to do for the F sharp. I kind of want the F sharp up here. So now I just got to figure out, is it a major chord or a minor chord? The minor chord going to a major chord. So I'm doing that same thing where I'm putting the root on as the top note and having the third down lower. So it's kind of weird. Hopefully that'll be good enough, and then we can just start kind of soloing over it at that part, or playing the melody, if I can remember it. Let's see. So I could probably loop that melody. Let's do that. Let's see. So that's kind of cool, and then I harmonized it. And all I did was I harmonized it in thirds, because that's kind of what the vocal melody is. So that was a good one, Seth. Yeah, that one sounds pretty good. Looped. And because I looped them on the same loop, if I wanted to, I could take it off now, right? And it's gone. So that's kind of the idea. Songs like that are really, really good to loop with. And I didn't do, if you know the strum pattern that the guitar does on there, it's a much more complex pattern. And if you learn that, you could go and do all that. Yeah. So I realized that the harmony would be pretty straightforward when I started doing the chords. I realized that I was already doing that harmony. So you could do it all at once, but it sounded better to kind of spread it out over that and have it build. So that's the other thing with loops is like a lot of times what I like doing with them, as you've probably heard on previous live streams, is I'll start simple, and then by the end of it, I'll just keep adding a layer, adding a layer, adding a layer until it's ridiculous, and then I'll fade it out. So let me do an example of that. I'm just going to make something up. So kind of weird. It's a little loose, but that's okay. So I'm just going to keep adding layers now. I'm going to add a bass line and keep it really low. So that's G minor. So I'm just going to do some sort of G minor vamp on the top. So now I'm going to make up a melody, and then I'm going to try to harmonize it, and hopefully it's going to sound okay. So I keep it simple so I can remember what I did to be able to harmonize it. So I'm just thinking about it. So now I've got a harmonized melody on there. So then, you know, I might keep it not this busy at first, not looping all that stuff. But by the end of it, I can just add another layer and another layer. So I'm going to add some harmonics. So now I've got that one in there. I'm going to add one higher. So the root of the G is the 12th fret harmonic. The 5th higher is the 7th fret harmonic. And then the octave higher is going to be the 5th fret. So I'm going to add that on there too. So now it's probably pretty busy, right? And I can just add some random things, like a descending line maybe. Ooh, I don't like that one. I accidentally hit a... I'm going to leave it in there anyway, whatever. I just made a harmonic minor by accident at the end. See, now I made mistakes, so we'll just go ahead and fade it out. And the main thing that you notice is like, yeah, there was a mistake in there, but it didn't really stand out like as much as it would have if it was entirely out of time. So the main thing with looping, again, is just have really good timing and work on your timing a lot. I think it's actually a good way to work on your timing a lot because you have to really play along with what you're doing. Some loop pedals have a built-in metronome so that you can kind of use that to help gauge your timing. And I think that can help a lot too. So hopefully that gives you an idea of some different styles that you can play and kind of how to approach different ones. Does anyone have any questions about any of that? Just for the record, I know one thing that people might ask later on is what loop pedal am I using? This is the Boss RC1. So I think it's like around $100 kind of thing. And then I have an extra pedal plugged into it, and it's a sustain pedal so that I can stop the loops without having to double click. And yeah, it's pretty cool. So that's kind of the idea there. Hi, Cody. How's it going? You say, got to keep making videos. Yeah, I keep making them week after week after week. So I'm going to keep doing the Tuesdays and the Thursdays. I was thinking about trying to make some shorts as well, but I don't really know if the content that I have is good for that. But it'd be kind of cool to just have like a 30-second video where it's like a loop like this, where I just give you the notation up above where I'm playing. You know, I can just give you the notation, and it would be like a 30-second to a minute long video where you just get like a groove and you just get the tabs on the video. And I'd probably just mostly do this with original stuff, but some of these looped things, like maybe the maybe the Get Lucky one might work really well for that. So, if I go in there and tweak it a little bit and figure out the exact way, I might do that and then put tabs above and below on the video. So I'm thinking about doing that. I don't want to do, how do you approach hairstyles with your loop pedal? Oh, I don't even know. But yeah, I was thinking it might be kind of cool to like notate each loop out. And so it's like, since they're a measure or two long, usually I could just like notate it and then it goes away when it's time for the next one. And then that way I could even have like I could even count you guys in like a 1, 2, 3, 4. There's the first measure. And you'll see, if I eventually get like a second camera, I don't know, I have a whole lot of ideas for shorts is the point. It would be kind of cool to have that and just like 30-second, minute-long things that you can learn to do to make a loop. So that might be a cool thing to do. Hairstyles, I'm not quite sure if you're talking about, since you capitalize it, is that a song or a joke? I can't quite tell. But yeah, I was thinking it might be kind of cool. So when I figure out how I want to film them, because shorts are different since they have to be vertical video, and since there's putting the notation on there would still take some time, and I don't think I can do that using my phone. So if I can figure out how to do that. Okay, cool, Seth. I noticed you said it was a joke. Yeah, approaching hairstyles with the loop pedal. You gotta have longer hair, and then you gotta loop it around. No, I don't know, but yeah, but really that's just kind of the thing. So I might come out with some more stuff like that. It's a lot of work to make that kind of stuff, so I'm not sure that I can be able to add that to the weekly thing, but it might be something kind of cool that I can do every now and then. Or I might do it in the place of a Tuesday video every now and then. But I just thought that might be kind of fun. And I already have a name for it. Oh, okay, I get the joke now. Okay. Thanks, Mark. I'm slow. But yeah. So the Harry Styles with the hairstyles with the loop pedal with the we can just add on to that joke, make it all work. But yeah, I was thinking I had a name for it that was kind of fun, and I think I called it this on other platforms. But now that like YouTube has a thing called Shorts, it's like I might as well call it bass shorts on a short bass. So I'm thinking about doing that. I've kind of put a lot of thought into it, but have yet to do that because just adding an extra thing might be a little bit much. It's actually, it's time consuming coming up with a video on Tuesday and then this and then playing shows on the weekend. So if I figure that out and get it a little bit more organized, you might start seeing those pretty soon. So keep an eye out. And if you don't see them a little bit, just say, hey, you said you were going to do this. Just, let me know if it's something that you want. But yeah, I think that would be kind of fun. I think it would be a good thing to do. And I think just having the notation for one measure at a time up on the screen, since they're just like short loops, like literally I could just do one loop that's just slap, pop, quarter notes just across the top. Then the next loop would be whatever the groove is. That what it sounded like. That would be a good one for looping too. I can't remember it, but Sing a Simple Song would be a cool one to do. But yeah, so I might add that in for you guys too. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and go. But I want to thank you guys for hanging out. If you have any questions about any of these styles, not Harry styles, but any of these styles, just let me know, and we can work on that. I don't know how I missed that pun, but it's a good one. So good job, Seth. That's a good one. But I will see you guys next time. I will see you guys on Tuesday for the main video and Thursday for the live stream. All right. And Cody, last thing, shorts are a great idea. Yeah, I think it would be worth it. And I was thinking about possibly doing Patreon requests that way instead of doing the full ones too, because a lot of people have been requesting songs that can be looped like that. But it might just also be a good way to do it. So it's a cool idea. Very cool. All right. Well, I'll see you guys next time. Have a good week and take care. Cheers.